You are listening to the Lawyer Stories podcast with host Benny Gold. Lawyer Stories was founded in July 2017 on Instagram and is an expanding global network of lawyers and law students sharing their personal journeys to the noble profession of the practice of law. Join us on this podcast as we dig deeper into these stories and hear from lawyers and law students from around the world in all areas of the legal profession. Here at Lawyer Stories, we believe that every lawyer has a story. What's yours?
Welcome to the Lawyer Stories podcast with Benny Gold. Today I'm joined by Andy Seavers, co-founder and CEO of Case Status, a leading client communication platform used by law firms across the country. Andy entered the legal industry through technology and entrepreneurship after identifying a major gap in how law firms communicate with their clients. Based in Charleston, South Carolina, Andy has helped grow Case Status into a nationally recognized legal tech company by working closely with plaintiff and consumer firms to improve transparency, trust, and the overall client experience. Andy, welcome in.
Thanks for having me. That was a great overview.
Thank you very much. So we nailed it, huh?
Nailed it.
So one thing I did want to add is that you are that Case Stat, and this is what I just heard. I saw that you did a little interview with Bob Simon. We know Bob; he's been on the podcast a couple times, and you guys called it the basically Case Status, the Domino Pizza tracker for your case for your legal cases. I love that. Like that's just an easy way to break it down, right?
Oh yeah, and that was how we started. My co-founder is a plaintiff lawyer. She practiced personal injury here in Charleston, and she started with the idea of my clients are calling. If they could just track their case like a pizza, they would have what they need, and that's really where it started. When you give it to the client first and you give them what they need, then you can build from there. And there's a lot we've done since then to build value for the law firm and for the legal industry at large.
Totally. So tell us, Andy, where are you originally from, and like what was your professional path before legal entered your life, I guess?
Yeah. So I grew up in Hershey, Pennsylvania.
Nice.
And it's funny we were talking about that podcast. I historically haven't talked much about being in a band, but was in a band, got a record deal when we were senior in high school.
Really?
And toured for a little bit for about 2 years. And when we broke up, we were on tour, broken down in Valdosta, Georgia, and it was just this this moment of like, oh, what am I going to do with my life? And it's funny, the lawyers were the only ones that made me money, and I was always called Mr. Lawyer in high school. I thought, because I'd argue a lot, so I thought, okay, you know what?
All right,
I
that's
think
fair.
I'm go to Nashville and try and be an entertainment lawyer, and ended up going to Belmont, which has a strong entrepreneurship program, and got into technology and software, and ultimately decided not to go the law school route, but go the software route, and became technical and became a developer and started companies. So it was.
What was the band called? What kind of music were you playing, by the way?
I always tell people they're going to have to go find for themselves, and then Bob found the music video that's out there. But it was a pop punk band that you'd probably never heard of, and but yeah, it was a fun time. I always say it's the hardest startup you'll ever have, because imagine going to investors and saying, hey, I've got an idea that it's called music, and we're going to distribute it. People are going to love it. They go, how do you make any money? You can't, because it's given away for free on streaming services. They go, how are you going to distribute it? We're going to drive around in a van and sell T-shirts. And we're going to play in front of people at bars that nobody goes to. And then you're like, it'd be the worst investment you'd ever make. But yeah, you do it every single day, and sometimes people get lucky and make it.
So, like, who was your musical influence then?
So, Blink was huge at that. Blink 182 was huge at that time. There were a bunch of smaller bands like Boys Like Girls, or We the Kings, or Forever the Sickest Kids that were influences at the time. But
got it. Okay, just I wanted to try to get like a picture of like.
Yeah, well, it's funny now. Like there's this big festival in Vegas every year, and like Green Day and Blink, the headliners, Yellow Card was there, and Sum 41. It's like all the bands that were not a huge thing are now playing like stadiums, and that's just
that's crazy. I was actually going to say Green Day. Like I know I'm probably like 100 years older than you, but like Dookie was such a huge album when I was in high school, and it's a really good album. I mean, I still have some of this. Anyway, all right. So you're not a lawyer by training. But like, what early roles or like industries, like after the band, obviously, like shaped how you thought about technology and business? Like, how did you
Yeah,
start
well,
thinking about that?
yeah. So I was a pre-law major in college and clerked at a
Okay.
couple firms, so did get that kind of
Okay.
perspective of. I actually just wrote a book called Future Firm, Fossil Firm, where I talk about change in the legal industry. It gets published in Q2, and I tell a story about talking to one of the clients at the time, and just the fact that they would put an intern on the phone who knew nothing as the front level of the client is just crazy in
Right.
the legal industry. Well, kind of fast forward, worked at a company called technologyadvice.com, which got me a lot of exposure just to software in general. It was a platform to help find software for your business. And then after that, started my own company, a parking app that we would help businesses that are
Okay.
parking on nights and weekends sell their
Wow.
spaces. We were a little bit too early before tech, like SMS and Twilio, and that was going to work. But we were also too early for mobile apps to be the right. You only could have 26 apps in your phone. And so anyway, while I was running these companies, I was also a fractional CTO. So none of those startups ever made any money, but I would have businesses come to me and say, "Hey, we're stuck. We have bad developers or bad code, and we don't know what to do." And so I got to be the fixer. They would bring me in just on contract, and I would help. Because I was technical, I could see what was wrong and see usually it was a people problem and help hire them a new team and get them unstuck. And it just gave me a good perspective on solving problems and on software. And ultimately, I use that just as the way to bridge myself to continue to make some money while I worked on my own ideas. And when we
Yeah.
started Status early on, we started to see this is going to be something really special. And I went all in on Case Status, and that was in early 2018.
Okay. So like, where do you get your entrepreneurial spirit from, would you say?
So it's if you go way back when I was 14, my mom, she said, she always saw my brother could save money, but I knew how to make money. And she's like, you could start a business. Have you heard of auto detailing? We kind of went through a few businesses, and
Okay.
and she's like, tell you what, I will be your first investor. I will buy the equipment to detail and a DVD so you can learn how to do it. And then you detail our cars, and when you've done a good enough job, that'll have paid us back. And then you can go detail other people. So I really credit my mom
Awesome.
for really starting that entrepreneurial itch that never seems to go away. And then through the band that being like she remembers me sitting on our couch. My mom and dad would come in. I'd be on the couch with the laptop open on the phone, cold calling venues, booking shows, and that was before I knew what sales, like
Yeah.
what a SDR role was or something like that. I was going to do whatever it took to get our band booked, and so that's just how I grew up, and my parents very much fostered that, which was cool.
So it's kind of always been a part of you a little bit, even
Yeah,
when you were doing it when you didn't even realize it, I guess. So
exactly.
so like, was there a specific moment or experience where you realized like that law firms had like a need for case status?
I mean, there was definitely an awareness of the challenge when I was clerking at a firm and the partner would have his emails printed out. He'd redline them and then hand them back to his assistant. I knew there are like I cannot believe that that was still happening in 2010. And I
Okay.
said, we need to figure out like this will be changed at some point. And then as I met Lauren, my co-founder, and we started Case Status, every time we would have like this feeling like, I don't know if this is going to work. No one cares about clients. Lawyers say they don't want to talk to them, and they don't want to show visibility into what's happening. We would then talk to a lawyer who really got it and was like, this has completely changed our business, and it has changed how we care for clients. It's totally different, and we're all in. And today those customers are still on, and that feels really good because that kept us coming back saying we are on to something. We know this is going to exist in the same way that we don't trust our banks because we call and email them. We
Hmm.
trust our banks because they demonstrate they can handle our money on our phone. We help
Right.
lawyers demonstrate trust and transparency through the mobile app first, and then everything that we built after that was to reinforce the care and the communication and the support and all the things that go along in the legal case. And so that's just continued to reinforce that what we've built is something special.
Right. So like, what would surprise you when you were doing like your initial research with case tests? Like, what would surprise you about how attorneys sort of communicate with their clients?
Well, we go in and say, well, how many inbound phone? They would start saying, we're getting too many inbound phone calls. Okay, how many? No idea. Okay, so it's just a feeling. It's like,
Right.
okay, well, do you get back? Would you say it's unethical if you don't get back to clients? Absolutely. Do you know that you get back to all clients? And then they go, well, we try. They
Yeah.
know they don't. They don't have any systems to prove it. And some of them at the time would have liked that. They're like, I don't want any system that can catch me in my lack of meeting my ethical duty of care. It's really what it was. And we
Right.
didn't know how to put words to it at the time, but it was like, there is this like shady gap here that exists that, some firms are like, oh no, we know we do a bad job and that's why we need this. We need help. And we'd say, oh great. To some firms, we'd say this is gonna, like, you're gonna probably need half the staff. And they'd say, I've worked my whole life to have this many staff members. Like that's a funny thing to say. Most businesses are happy when we find cost reduction, but we get it. This is also going to help you grow because reviews and referrals are such a big part of their business.
Right.
When clients are happier, when we're helping drive more reviews, it's a flywheel for growth. And so that became the story, and that became the communication of this is going to help you really scale the way you support clients long term, and it's going to drive a great client experience, which will help you grow.
How many firms are you helping now?
We have about 600.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah,
Okay.
and we typically focus on mid to large. Personal injury is the sweet spot for us. So we've got probably 60% of our customers fall into that bucket. But
Okay.
Workers' comp, social security, disability, mass tort, a big segment. Immigration, we have firms that are growing 10,000 clients a year in immigration. It's the fastest growing practice area in our platform.
Wow. Yeah.
Estate, criminal bankruptcy, but as firms start to scale, it becomes a really good fit. Although every day we close a couple smaller firms who are like, hey, we've got 10 people who are trying to scale more efficiently. We even have firms who've started up with day one on case status. Guy here in Charleston who said, I believe this is like my duty to clients is to give them visibility.
Yeah.
They should not have to call me to know what's going on. And when they're up at midnight, can't sleep and want to know, man, what's happening, they should be able to, have peace of mind and fall back to sleep.
So take me through, like, if I was a client or an attorney, like how you use case status. Like, do you log in? Like, is it an app it's an app for a client? Like, how do you go about using it?
Yeah, so you'll get a text from your law firm that says, hey, thanks for signing up with our firm, or thanks for considering our firm. Click here to download the app to be able to track your case and better communicate with us securely, and all the things that go with that. They can customize that message, but we always have templates to start with. They click the app, or they click the link, the app downloads, and then when they're in, it's very simple. They type in their phone number, it texts them a PIN, and they're in. So there's no accounts to create. There's no passwords to forget. We make it really seamless, similar to a Venmo or an Uber experience. In fact, I'd say it's maybe even a little bit better than that. And then when they're into their case, we architected this with the client in mind. So it's all about how do you give clients answers to their questions that they're going to have when they log in. So today, 93% of clients who open up the case status app find what they need and put it back down. And we try and continue to push that number up because we want to answer their questions before they even have to reach out.
So it's like so it comes in as like a notification, like the next thing for their case. It kind of pops up when they.
So like the Domino's Pizza tracker, you log in and you have stages of what to expect through the case. So if you've just begun, you're in stage 1. What does that mean? Frequently asked questions, videos, timelines. A lot of times partners will do a welcome message. You may have checklist, to-do list items, things the law firm they're going to work on. You've got a complete understanding of where you're at in your case right now. And then you can look forward. What does the rest of the process entail? So now, yes, I've maybe talked to my client about it, but they've never been in a legal case most likely. And so giving them a place to go back to and understand how this process is likely going to progress. It doesn't always mean that, and we can give these branches of client journeys, but ultimately when you start to demonstrate this is what the process is going to look like, this is how long it's going to take, this is what we're going to do, this is what you're going to need to contribute in, the client builds a lot of trust.
Sure.
That, oh, this law firm knows what they're doing. They know it so well, they're willing to put it out there and tell me. They're giving me a rough estimate on timeline, but they're also telling me where things are going to go off the rails. So now I can have good expectations. And then when I do have a question, I can type a message and send a response.
So, and this is an app, right? Like they open the
Yes, yes. It is a case status app in iOS and Android. They can also communicate via text if they want to just text, or they decide they have the app, but they also want to get a text notification. And then we also have web, and we have a number of other ways that
Sure.
they can engage with the firm. But primarily it is case status in the App Store, and then it is a firm branded mobile app when the clients download the app.
Okay. So you kind of explain from the client side, like so who puts it in, like who uploads all that info, or like how does that get in there for
Yeah, so we integrate with the systems they use today. So
interest?
dozens of
Okay.
case management tools, Salesforce. I mean, we've been around long enough. We pretty much integrate with everybody. In fact, we've taught a lot of these case management tools how to build their API or how to improve it, make them more security conscious, because maybe before us, nobody used their API before, or very few.
Okay.
And so when a new case gets added to the case management tool, it gets synced to case status automatically.
Gotcha.
And now this is the primary way you engage the client. And then those engagements sync back to the case management tool. We then key off of key data points within the case management tool, checklist items, timelines, dates that help automate a lot of the process for updates to clients. And then now over the last year, we have a very sophisticated data and AI team where we've been able to really start to uncover what we call client intelligence within the firm. So this is the knowledge that exists where you and I will have a conversation, and you might tell other people about me, but they're going to miss some context. You might write some notes in the CRM, but they're going to then breeze over those. We figured out ways to help take all of these client interactions and turn this into a usable intelligence that the law firm can better care for the clients. Satisfaction, we can now predict sentiment, pre-drafting messages based on how the firm wants to communicate, personalized by the staff member based on what the client cares about and needs to know. It's one thing to say, what's the status of my case? But they might be saying, hey, I'm feeling real nervous right now because of something that just happened. Can you help put that at ease? But that's not what they're asking, but that's their intent. We can help uncover that. We can pre-draft the communications. And now 40% of the communications sent back from law firms are messages that we've pre-drafted, and then the law firm comes in and approves it and sends that message out. They can also edit it or use other AI tools. But that's just an example of how we see a shift in the case status platform is what we now call a system of action for the way that they care for clients. And really our opportunity is, what are these pathways that are taking lots and lots of time, that don't take a lot of skill necessarily, but definitely take some focus and typically a person, and we can replace a lot of those things to really superpower staff members to make them really effective.
Wow. That's a lot. So do the systems kind of, like, after a while, do they sort of, like you talked about sentiment, like does it take a while to get there with like certain law firms or certain clients, or is it like kind of adaptable, like right away? Does it read that right away?
Yeah, good question. So it's actually pretty quick, and that's because we've trained it off data that over the last 6 years, we were really the first in this space to implement Net Promoter Score as a core tenet of our platform. So throughout the stages, at each update, we ask a client, hey, 0 to 10, how likely are you to refer your law firm to a friend or colleague?
Okay.
Now we're able to zero in on why they're getting zeros, what's broken in the process, and then how do we better care for them. But that's also helped us start to predict and train models that understand, oh, these are the things that cause them to be unhappy. These are the indications that their satisfaction's going off a cliff. Let's interject before that happens. And so although the models become good on a firm by firm level, they start out pretty good because of the core model that we've trained. And some of the best firms in the country have contributed their data to help train those models as a kind of core baseline, and then it gets personalized by the law firm.
That's amazing how it all gets personalized, like after a while. It just kind of, I mean, it's incredible.
We have a version that our app will translate into whatever language the client has on their phone, and then there's also real-time translation. And the overwhelming feedback is, this translation is so good. It just understands the way I personalize some of the words I use. Maybe I don't want to be as formal in some circumstances, but more formal in others. And we just love to hear that feedback, because it just means that what we're building is working. And it's, again, we're not trying to replace the team members. We believe that someone's going to put a chat bot in with a client, and it's going to get them disbarred because it's going to negatively impact their case. But we'd also believe that we can give, with context, with pre-drafting, we can give them the tools to help shortcut those low value, like, the client might say something and you might have just, the feedback we get is, oh, thanks, or, oh, no problem. But instead it had an empathetic response that really took the time to, to really validate what was just said. And that just creates a better connection with the client.
Okay. Yeah, that was sort of leads into my next question about like, does this sort of, we don't want people thinking like you never get to talk to your lawyer or your legal team. Like you got to check the app all the time, right? So like, what's the way is that clients
Oh yeah.
about,
Well,
is
we
it
always
just
say
we'll
that
see you in court or like, how does it work?
it'd be like if your bank called you today and said, hey, Benny, we're no longer going to do online banking. You can call us, or I'll call you every Monday and tell you how much money you have in your bank account.
Yeah.
You might be like, that might be a premium service that I want, but you're going to get rid of the app. No, I demand both, because
Right.
I'm going to pay you, even if it's a contingency, like a personal injury case, they're going to take a third of the settlement. They still might take 30 grand. So I still demand a service that cares for me, that gives me visibility, and you should call me. Both of those things should happen. It's
Yeah.
funny. All these AI tools are popping up, and their whole pitch is, "Oh, we're gonna replace people." And what can you never replace? The care that a client deserves in a legal case. Not like
Right.
maybe even always needs every single day, but they deserve a person to communicate with them, to make sure they understand, to care for them. And the moment, we call someone and it's a robot, we yell, real people, we
Yeah.
want to talk to a real person, right?
Yeah.
Our opportunity is we've gotten really, really good at figuring out how do you first level give the clients what they need. And then because we freed the law firm up with so much time, they actually can spend the personal care that they need to with the client, and give them the tools to know who that client is, what they care about. We talk to people. This person's more nervous. This person gets more, has a lot to say. This person gets really excited, but will also get really mad. Those contexts help me communicate better. And when we can help surface those things to the law firm, it makes the whole relationship better. Quantifiably too, our net promoter score from clients on the mobile app is about a 70 across the average across all of
Nice.
our firms. Clio reported the legal industry average is a 25. And what I know
Yeah.
to be true in consumer law is it's a 0 or less. It's like Comcast bad at how typically people feel when they have a legal case with a consumer-based law firm, except when they're on case status.
So like, what is the most, how do I phrase this? Like the information you get from case status. Like, does the case status say, hey, we have a settlement offer for like 1 million. Do you want to take that? Like if you, or would the case say, meet me at court? Like, I don't know if I'm making sense.
Yeah.
Like what are the type
No,
of
of course.
messages you're getting from case status?
Yeah, those are great questions. We always say it's structured visibility. So we've figured out, again, with our data and AI models, how to surface what needs to be surfaced to the client, and then also what needs to be communicated. And so you log onto the app and you've just released from treatment, and we're going to start the demand process. Okay, what does that mean? What does it mean to reach my like my maximum? Essentially, like I'm fully healed. This is the best I'm ever going to get. What does that actually mean? And what's the next phase of that? How can I contribute? And so there might be a video there, a frequently asked question, a
Oh,
to-do
cool.
list item. I might need to snap a picture or scan on my phone a document. I might need to, again, whatever that piece is, it's going to give me the visibility in what's happening behind the scenes. Now, are we going to automate a message that says, like, here's your demand amount, or here's your settlement amount? No. But are we going to automate the process after we've communicated to say your disbursement check has been sent, or automate the process that says we've moved on to demand, this is what this process means? Or there's so much configuration that firms can do. Some go like, oh, I want everything keyed off of Salesforce. And some people are like, oh, I just need the status updates to go out, visibility, these other pieces that they can choose, essentially like education that the client can choose to engage with. And then I'm going to proactively reach out on everything else. And so
Okay.
it's
And
a
what
little bit of
about
a
follow-up
flavor-based.
questions? Like if the person gets something on there, what if they have like a quick follow-up?
Yeah, they can communicate in the app. They can ask questions, and then it routes to their team. So one of the things that has been really unique about case status is we build into their workflow. So for example, if you're in Litify, we are built right into the matter within Litify, so you don't have to go anywhere else. If you're in Clio, we have a Chrome extension. So if you're on a case in Clio, the right side of your screen can load up and case status will load up automatically. And so we've built this to be directly into the process that they have built today. So it's a little change management. We know that one of the lawyers are not great at change and implementing change. So we've always made it as easy as possible. Now, what we are selling them is fundamentally caring for clients in a different way forever. Because once clients engage with case status, you can't take it away. I mean, if you've opened the door to a better experience, is it unethical to take it away? I would say absolutely. But we want to be able to help make that transition as easy as possible. And as we start to standardize the process, we'll take them through a white glove process to do that.
So I guess that leads me to another question. Like, how do you convert the older attorney who's been, just gets phone call after phone call, doesn't want to use anything that's kind of not automated, but more AI focused? Like, how do you convert somebody and convince them that, you need to start doing this? Like, this is going to open up a lot of time for you.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, the future firms come to us and we don't have to do a whole lot of convincing these days.
Yeah.
You've got the old school lawyers who are starting to realize that they're going to be fossil firms and they're going to go extinct at some point. Now, if I was to try and convince one, I would say, look, one, your ethical duty to your client is good communication, reasonable updates, staying current on technology. Like, if you're not doing those things, you are already at risk for your license. But just on a straight human level, do you think if they knew they could go to a lawyer who is going to communicate better, faster, more visibility, and they chose you and you've opted out, do you think they would have a problem with that? I would, if I was a client.
Yeah.
So at the base level, totally. I would have them look at their humanity a little bit and say, how about be a normal, just a person for a second? Okay, now let's just talk about all the gains that you get as a law firm. You need less staff members. Clients are happier, so you grow more. You now can proactively scale better than you could before, because we can essentially show them this grid of staff members per client, client satisfaction, average response time, and we'll show you dozens of examples in your practice area of how those firms have fundamentally transformed. We have a firm, Ponlahaki Giordano, that they grew 60%. They cut their staff down by 40% based on that ratio because of the gains that they got. And this is a firm that does a lot of Social Security disability, so low margin. Right. And they're seeing that type of response. Personal injury could be 40, 50% margins. They're making tons of money, which is also sometimes the problem. They're so rich. They're like, I don't need to change. And that's what we're seeing today is they're like, I'm rich. I'm playing with AI. I don't need to care about the client, but I would get in trouble if I said that. So I'm just not going to even engage in the conversation. So we're trying to get people to say, engage in the conversation around ethics of caring for clients. That's why we started a podcast called Ethical-ish. It's ethical debates about things that lawyers thinks are ethical-ish.
Interesting. I like that.
We want to start. We want more true debates about these topics that maybe there isn't an agreed upon answer, but that's part of being a lawyer is negotiating, and maybe you don't agree on the outcome with the other person, but try and find a middle ground. Let's at least have those conversations, and those people who want to hide or are just like, I'm just trying to retire on a beach. It's like, well, then fully retire so that the lawyers who are actually going to meet their ethical duty of care can come and have those cases, because clients deserve better. I mean, I think we'd all agree, nobody's out there saying the legal industry is so great, but they should think about lawyers like doctors. They care for me. They've saved my life. They put my needs first. And that's not every doctor, but that is typically is where people put doctors in their minds. Lawyers are nowhere near that thought.
Really? You don't think lawyers are anywhere near where doctors are on the
they should be. They absolutely
the hierarchy
should be.
of profession?
Oh, I would say if you ask someone who their top 10 most ethical people are, they know they wouldn't put a lawyer on that list.
Oh, ethical. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, ethical is one, but also care. We launched our CX report, which we hired an independent search firm to go out and find law firms and clients who have legal cases not associated with case status. And it was something I need to know the number, but it's 70% of firms say that they're carrying, and only 40% of clients would say that their law firm is carrying. It's such a drastic difference on perspective from the client's view and the law firm's view.
Well, I mean, you're solving the problem, which is the worst thing that lawyers or that clients complain to the bar about most, which is probably lack of communication to their client,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So you guys are solving that problem by just opening the app. Let's see where you're at with your case. And I mean, it's that's comforting too to a client. they go into their lawyer. The lawyer's like, okay, like, we're set up on case status. You're going to download this. You could also open it on your computer. Maybe there's like an older client or something. Not that you have to be older to use a computer. I like to use a desktop too sometimes, but you know what I'm saying? Like, and I think that really does solve an issue. Like they can go there and check it out, even if they have like the smallest cases. And the way
Well, it's been
AI
tough.
operates.
It's been tough because through the years, all the case management tools have tried to compete with us and build a client portal. And the portal piece of it is such a small fragment of what it takes to actually care for the client and make this entire system work. And so we're all their biggest partners now. They've all tried and failed. We've seen dozens of competitors pop up and go out of business. There's
Really?
like one that sticks around in second place, and we like it. We're like, help us spread the word that this matters,
Yeah.
because all these people who have done it incorrectly have created this I don't need to do. I tried a client portal through Filevine or Litify. Like these companies are sunsetting their portals and just positioning us instead because because it doesn't work, because caring for the client is really, really hard. Let us do that. Focus on the law firm, focus on AI, focus on those internal workflows, and we're going to really figure out how we scale
Client portal. So what does make you guys different than the ones that kind of tried and then failed? Like your client portal.
I could go rattle off 50 things, everything from infrastructure like built on phone number or built on phone number versus email. Our clients coming to the app to chat are coming for value. How do you uncover that value? How do you actually uncover the right value? How do you integrate with the right systems? How do you help the law firm then help like reinforce change? Then once that change is done, how do we reinforce that this is the right process? I mean, all it takes is one client's like, I don't want to download an app, and the law firm goes up, clients don't want it. It's like, look, we have usually about 80% client adoption on the mobile app specifically, and then the other 20% adopted via text and web. So it's still 100% adoption. You don't need everybody on the app, but it will materially change the way that your firm operates. It's like online banking. Most of us have online banking on our phone. We have Amazon. We have the other things we care about. Maybe someone says, "Oh, I just want to check my money on my computer." Totally fine. That's all right. But let them engage in the way that they want to engage, and then care for them where they're at.
Interesting. Meet them where they're at, sort of thing. Like that's interesting. So how come, Andy, you went for I know you did do some legal work in college, like it was like part of your studies, but like why did you go specifically to legal instead of maybe just like a general communication platform?
Oh yeah, I mean, there are a lot of reasons that the legal industry needs this. I mean, there are a lot of professional services industries that aren't, like they don't have, professional code of conduct that directs them to care for clients. You've got, so I write about this in my book. I talk about the 4 levers that have stopped law firms from changing, and why those levers are all changing today, and why we're seeing this huge spike in the legal industry of AI and interest. It's all because of these levers changing. I think at the base level, it's just a really, really big problem in the legal industry, and the gap between how terrible of an experience it is for a client and how much money they make, when the same people who are advertising the billboards are like McDonald's selling a $5 cheeseburger, and they're going to make 4% margin on that, but they're still able to make enough money while lawyers are making 50% margins. Yeah. It's just this terribly wide problem where we don't even have to be that good, but because we are having such big impact, and now the change is really happening in the legal space where we've seen a lot of success. I was just on a call right before this though about asking, why not wealth management? And I'll tell you, we've met with insurance companies, we've residential home builders, people who are building or fixing cars in long processes. There's a lot of need in better communication, but at some point, like there are these specific workflows that are really narrow and specific, and we do those workflows really, really well in consumer-based law, and we're finding great pathways in expanded practice areas outside of that. So, not to say we won't expand at some point, but there's 140,000 consumer-based legal cases in the U.S. and I think 140,000 consumer-based law firms in the U.S. There's no shortage of need, and we've got about 1 million clients on our platform. I'm pushing for 10 million.
Wow, that's crazy. How does poor client communication, would you say, like impact a law firm beyond just unhappy clients or bad review? Like, say they're not using case status, and the client calls the firm, they can't get a hold of the firm for days or weeks. Like, how do you think that poor communication is gonna impact the law firm?
I mean, so many different ways. Reputation. I mean, how many people are they going to say, "Hey, don't go to that firm"? No, I didn't
Yeah,
terrible experience. They never got back to me. How many? So they didn't get back to them because the staff members don't have tools to support them, and then they get backlogged. It's not that they don't care. Like these staff members are usually mission driven. They're like like nurses or doctors. They're like, I'm here to help people, but they literally can't do the job at hand because they get called 40 times an hour by
yeah,
clients. And so that is a morale challenge. I mean, there's huge turnover in these law firms. A lot of times you've got overly paid people who aren't really that good, but they keep the firm together. They're the glue that just kind of
right, right.
brings
They
the
know
firm
where
together.
everything is, like where the file is. It's like out in the back and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
exactly. I mean,
Yeah,
and that's typical small business, challenge. But when when you can only have law firms own law firms, then you're not necessarily trained in business. You're not really thinking about exiting in the same way because can you really sell your name to another law firm? There are, again, all these dynamics that cause this behavior. But at the base level, it's like how terrible to like this we hear this happens all the time. Firms will call out staff members for negative Google reviews. Be like, you screwed up. They said they never got a call back and they were unhappy when they can't even see that it's because they have underhired, they don't have enough
right.
tools, whatever these problems are. Totally demotivating. Like if I was a staff member in these firms, I'd be like, peace, like I'm out of there. And then you go to a case status firm and they get back to every single client and they can prove it. They have a response time 6 hours. They have
Oh,
70 net promoter score. And then every time the net promoter score, we go, hey, 0 to 10, and they say 10. Like Benny was awesome. That guy just is like on top of it. Like the flip side is, wow, this is amazing. Like what? Like this feels really good. My clients are actually happy with my work. I actually
right.
get praised for the number of happy clients that I have versus the inverse. And so, I mean, it cascades much past that. But yeah, the impact of reputation and staff are two of the big ones.
Totally. So, like, was there a time when you first launched as like the alpha or whatever it's called, the beta like test, where you were like, wow, like this is really gonna work? Like, do you remember like that time, or did you just think it was gonna work all along, or like was there one specific firm you tried this with, and what was that? What was that feeling like? Like, what was that all about?
Yeah, it's a good question. I won't say there was ever a time that I can specifically remember where I was like, this is going to work. But there were plenty of times I'm like, this is never going to work.
Okay.
But every time I would get into a conversation with a firm that we've fundamentally changed, I went, oh, right. This is why we're doing this. This is going to work. Every time I heard a story of a client who had a better outcome in their case, a staff member there's a story of this woman, and maybe this is it. This like 89-year-old woman tells us, I got to. No, I'm sorry. No, 89-year-old woman at the time was the oldest client on the app. It was this woman who was I don't know if she's in her 60s, something like that. But she said because of case stats, I got to take my granddaughter to the park. And we're like, what? What does that mean? She's like, I've literally been so busy in this firm for the last 2 years. I've never been able to get off work at a time where it was still light out and I could take my granddaughter to the park. And we're
Really?
like, that is really, really interesting. And it really started to have us see this unlocks these firms in a way that
And that was because, just to finish that was because like the client was able to get what they needed from case status
yeah,
instead
I
of
mean, even back then, it would cut down phone calls by like 50% at minimum. It's like just
yeah.
because clients don't really want to call, but they have to because you've given them no other option. And literally, you're saying my number one problem is clients calling. It's like, well, duh. Like
How does it
you
deal
told
with
them.
like pissed off clients, like clients who open the thing and they're like, "You mother effing piece of like."
Well,
How does
that's
the
the best.
algorithm work with that?
Absolutely. That's the best part of the net promoter score historically is you identify unhappy clients early and you can do something about it. If
Yep.
you know they're upset, give them a call, chat with them,
Okay.
have a conversation, and 9 out of 10 times you can resolve that issue and they'll just be happy that you heard them. You also, because you ask them for a net promoter score, you teach them that you actually care about their feedback and you care about them. Now, because we're starting to uncover, predictive sentiment, you start to reach out to these people before they've left a negative score, and they're like, man, Benny, thank you for saying that. I was getting a little upset. I was getting a little scared, but
Yeah.
you just put my heart at ease. Like, thank you for that. Like, that is a huge, a huge thing in that person's life, and probably the most traumatic thing this individual has ever gone through.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, and I think like, do you think law firms like underestimated, like the amount of like the emotional experience that like clients actually go through like with their case? I mean, and then like, I think like case status would like identify that better, like you've been kind of talking
Yeah.
about. Like some lawyers wouldn't really, they might not be as centered to figure that out, but and they might need like the direct like hit from case status to be like, hey, look, like we've identified this sort of thing.
Yeah, that can definitely happen. I mean, look, at the end of the day, most lawyers got into this because they wanted to help people truly. They're like, I want to represent people. I want to help handle their cases. They might have liked some of the things like negotiation, but like it's about the client. And over time, this is a really, like, I know I can criticize lawyers because I know how impactful this is going to be for them. And
Yeah.
and it's an industry known for their ego and not being able to get out of their own way. It's like, I just want you to recognize that you have these lawyers have put up walls to protect themselves because it's a very, very hard industry. They get criticized a lot. You put your heart, on the line to represent this client. 4 years in, they fire you and they go hire another lawyer.
Mm.
Like that can create some cynicism, that can create some walls. And so I think that some of these lawyers, they just don't know because they've had to numb themselves to how hard this is. It's why like drinking and drugs can be such a prevalent thing in the legal industry. It's why burnout happens so much. It's just,
Yeah.
it is a really hard industry. And so I want to give them some credit that like I think they started at a place that was really, really strong and well intentioned, and that and some of them miss how bad the experience is because they're just shut down to it. They're so jaded by it. And it's like, look, try and put yourself in their shoes. You have, you're making 30 grand a year, and you're, maybe single income family, multiple kids. And all of a sudden you lose your form of transportation and you can't go to work and you're hurt. So you literally can't work. So now what do? Your whole life you're thinking, I'm going to lose my kids.
Yeah.
I'm going to lose my house. I'm going to lose everything. And no one from the law firm that you just hired will talk to you. Like how painful. But instead, now you've given them some visibility and some comfort. And now your time is freed up so you can better care for them. It just has this whole, I mean, again, this is all about the client. And I just really do. I mean, you can probably hear in my voice. I'm very, very enthusiastically for the client and how do we make this about them? Because what most clients don't know is you can hire another lawyer. You can fire the one you have. You can do some research, but a lot of times clients, they just go and Google, or maybe they just hire a lawyer a friend recommended. They don't know any better. And I'm saying there is a different, there's a different type of lawyer out there. And we have a big firm in Kansas City, DePasquale Moore. They have a data scientist on staff, and they said when clients are on case status versus not. Clients in case status, 8% higher settlements. They get better treatment. They're more engaged. 65-day faster resolutions. So case usually takes 18 to 24 months. It's getting done 65 days faster. Net promoter score, 62 versus, whatever the industry average was.
Wow.
25 or lower. And they operationally need half the number of people. Their average response time's like 6 hours. It's like if the client knew they could have that experience, they should be able to choose that. That's why we actually launched. We had our first. It's called the CX Summit, the Client Experience Summit in Charleston. You should come. We'll do it again in September. It's a really fun time. Great reason to come to Charleston. And it's firms and people in the legal industry who care and put the client first. And when you get into this community, we launched what we call the Status Sphere, which is essentially a community for our law firms to be connected. They can share leads back and forth. We do events for just that community so that they can grow and find new ways to be, to put the client first. And an interesting thing that started to happen is now clients are coming to the Case Status app looking for lawyers. They said,
really,
my friend had case status. That's what I want. Like, I need help tracking my case. And so they come to Case Status and we route those leads to the Status Sphere. So I'm saying, hey, join the community of people who care about clients. It's not unpopular You might still be in the minority of people, of law firms who care, but you won't be soon. And join the community, and let's help this grow and put some awareness on the fact that clients deserve better.
Yeah, well, I love that. I love your passion about that. Did something happen? Like, did you have like a friend, or like, did something happen like
I
where?
wish I had that story. I've been
Okay.
around long enough now. 8 years in February. I've just seen how bad. I mean, the legal industry will never look worse than it did in like 2019 or 2020.
Okay.
Like around the time when COVID hit. I mean, it
Cool.
was
Yeah.
just at an all-time low. And COVID just made it. I mean, 10 times worse. I mean,
Yeah.
you couldn't. But what happened is people retired, law firms started to innovate, and AI came out, and things that now are starting to get better for clients. And I've seen how bad it was and how much it's changed now. And I am very confident that in 5 more years we will not recognize the legal industry in the same way.
Wow. That's a lot, Andy. Yeah, I gotta see that book that you got coming out. So,
I'll send you one.
yeah, please sign it too. I want to sign copies. So,
You got
what
it.
what have you learned about lawyers and law firm culture that you maybe didn't fully understand like before you launched Case Status?
Oh man, so much. Um, one of the interesting dynamics of like non-lawyer ownership, for example. So lawyers in all states have to they have to be the owners of law firms, except for Arizona, Utah, starting in Washington, Puerto Rico. But historically in the U.S., you have to be a lawyer at a law firm. Well, what is that? How does that impact the way the firm operates? So first off, if you can't raise outside money, like we've raised $30 million Case Status over the
Nice.
years. Like you can't do that as a lawyer unless you're personally guaranteeing it, but that might as well be your own loan. And like so that means you're very, very personally connected to the business. The business is also a lot of times their name, right? They're a practitioner. So they're also very personally connected to it in that way. Training, where they trained to run a business and think about, oh yeah, you're gonna start this business, you're gonna invest it, you're gonna grow it, and then you're gonna sell it. Well, how do they sell their name? And what, they're gonna sell it to another lawyer? We're seeing all these things change now, but I didn't realize how much that impacts the way that law firms operate from the inside. It's the reason, this whole idea of partners buying in and buying out, and the dynamics that creates. Very,
Yeah.
very interesting. And I can appreciate everything about why the industry is where it is today, because you know we did this to them. Like these were all the protections and things that were set up with good intentions, but ultimately caused something maybe that we didn't fully intend.
Yeah. So, one more question, really, about Case Status and the whole like client experience. Like, how do you think about balancing automation and transparency, like without making the clients feel like they're being managed by a software? Like, how does that? You probably mentioned it, but I just want to kind of be clear about it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. From my standpoint, what we can do that nobody else can do is really focus on how do we make that client connection really, really strong with the law firm and the lawyer and the staff. So when you think about what a lot of AI tools are doing to replace people, we are trying to replace the workflows and tasks that get in the way of them having personal connection. So, for example, the phone call of what's going on with my case. Is the question really what's going on, or I don't trust you because I haven't heard from you? Well, then let's build trust in the way that the client actually wants, which is I don't want to call, I just want to know what's going on, and I don't need that much to know it. And when we've started to find these pathways, what is the client looking for? What do they care about? What do they need? How do we best care for them? And let's identify, what do they need software to solve this problem? Is it an automated update? Is it a frequently asked question that they can come and see in the app? Or do we need to give the context to the law firm to go and have a personal, connection, communication, a phone call, an in-person, a gift, all these things that can ultimately create personal connection. And because we sit with the client like nobody else does, we can
Mm.
help find those pathways that need to be AI and those pathways that need to be human. And
Right.
that ultimately is what we think is, that's how you run the ultimate law firm.
So, how do you see the client expectations changing in the legal industry over the next like 5, 10 years?
Oh man, it's changed even in the last. We started this. People are like, do people really have like, do they download apps? Do they have phones? Do they have smartphones?
Yeah.
Now, nobody asks if they have, like, again, they can still engage with text or web, but like but everyone has a smartphone. The most important things that people have are on their devices. Today we're seeing, clients are starting to get smarter and more aware of, oh, I actually don't need a lawyer for everything. I can go to AI. I can find the answers to my questions. I can figure out how to, dispute resolution through services, not lawyers. And in the future, it's just going to continue to create more and more. There are going to be more and more tools to be able to help clients resolve their problems themselves. I hear now about like these like divorce dispute resolution tools, which each side agrees and works on. And it's like, great, we found a solution. Here you go. And it's like, here's all the documents.
Yeah.
You're like, we've worked it all out. You guys all get what you want. Here's where you need to concede. Oh, I'd concede there and it creates this, digital mediation. Now I don't need a lawyer. Like, do people want to hire a lawyer when they have to get divorced? I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think they just want, I mean, I'm sure there are scenarios where they just want it to be painful, but I think mostly they're just trying to figure out how to make this thing as painless as possible. And they think a lot of time for lawyers, the solution. So I just think there will be a lot of solutions out there that'll help with a lot of issues, let's say, or matters come up that, that don't necessarily need a lawyer.
Like, do you think AI is like hitting the legal profession like harder than any other profession? Like, do you see any other professions getting? I mean, you can't really like have an AI doctor, I mean, not to sound like an idiot, but like you can't.
I mean, we're seeing AI come into those spaces and help make doctors better, but we are seeing, I think, legal is the hardest hit AI space because, and I mean, again, one of the other parts of the book, I'm not really trying to sell it at all. You can't even get it right now. Is the like billing, billing calls change not to happen because why would I get more efficient? The more inefficient I am, the more I bill for time. The more you call me, the more I bill. So obviously, we're not talking about contingency based, but big transactional firms, they're being hit because they're going. True. All these AmLaw 100s are saying we're going to lose the billable hour, and the first thing that's going to go is client communication. We're going to have to shift to value-based billing. How are we going to operate? And I'm saying, well, first off, you're going to need, our client intelligence platform to help uncover client knowledge, and then we'll figure out what the right system of action is for your firm. It might not be the mobile app because you're dealing with 9 large corporations and all those people are sitting at their computer. All right, well, let's still help you know how to communicate better with Benny and when he needs communicated with and what documents need surfaced and how we do this in a better way. And I just, I think everything in the legal industry is changing, and it's cool to see lawyers are open to the change. Now, I don't like the stats that show 95% of AI or whatever isn't actually producing an ROI for these firms, but we'll get there. From our standpoint, we know that's not the case for us, but we want to see firms, embrace this more because it's going to benefit them.
Sure.
And I think in the next couple of years, this will all start to settle, and we'll start to see what the kind of future of the legal industry looks like with AI.
So where do you see case status evolving as law firms continue to modernize and adopt AI in their operations and client experience? Like, how do you think case status is going to sort of move with them? I know I feel like you're ahead of the curve, but well, definitely. But how do you think you're going to keep going?
Yeah, I mean, I think that as we think about the system of action and how law firms will really start to lean in on what are our systems of action in these different areas. So, we specifically focus on the client. We're going to continue to go down the pathways that help unlock more, care for the client, focus on the client, and then ultimately the flywheel that helps them grow. And so a big part of our opportunity is how do we help bring more clients to the case status platform and route them back to our customer base? We will see that part of our business grow substantially. And then we also think about then how do we unlock certain tooling at the right time for the client. So, for example, one of the ideas that we will release here at the beginning of the year is an AI generated frequently asked questions section. So it's not, we don't want to scare any lawyers and say we're going to put a chat bot in the app, but there are plenty of questions that the client asks on a regular basis where there are pre-canned or contextualized answers where the law firm would say yes. When the client can ask these 6 questions and here's genuinely how we want to answer them with the context of their case.
Okay.
And allow that bridge where the client can start to get more and more answers to their questions. They can get more and more of the things they need, like maybe access to medical records, or maybe access to, we're doing a lot of OCR work where we're pulling things out of documents. Maybe that information helps pre-fill out the form for them, or maybe we get rid of forms altogether because there's no colder experience than sitting at a doctor's office and they hand you a form to fill out beforehand when you already gave them all that information. How can we take every part of the cold relationship and make it, genuinely personalized and really feel good?
Wow. All right. And so like, I'm not going to call a law firm as a client and they're going to be like, check your case status and like hang up on me, right? Like that's not really, okay.
No, they're going to say, oh, let me help you with that. And they're going to give you the answer and say, oh, by the way, we see you haven't been on case status in a while.
Okay.
Would you like me to resend you the link? And be like, oh, I completely forgot about it. Yes, absolutely. Thank you. And then great.
That's
amazing. Just part of the talk track. See, now Benny, we're talking and you're like, man, I hope I have a legal case soon so I can use case status. No, I don't hope. I'm just joking. I don't wish that on you.
That I have a legal, yeah, please not. Well, I mean, my lawyer would have to use it, right?
Absolutely. We'd make sure you found a good one.
Yeah, that's true. Only the good ones would use them. Pretty cool stuff, man. So like, I think your staff, I just want to give a shout out because I think some of your staff might be coming to Miami for the Lawyer Stories event in February.
Oh, love it.
So you should look into that too, Andy, if you're around. I know you guys got trial lawyers and everything, but is there anything else that you left out that you want to discuss today? Any advice? Any other little nuggets?
I just think there's so much opportunity in the legal space. I was just at a conference in called the Legal Tech, or the Legal Tech Fund. They put on a conference it was in Austin this last November, and
nice.
There's more innovation happening in legal tech. I've got a little group of other CEOs who've been around for a while and in legal tech, and we're seeing a lot of new people coming into the space, and we're pumped by it because there was a time where it was hard to find another legal tech provider, or at least another legal tech startup. And now there are 5 in Charleston that I know of, and it's like this is not necessarily the biggest community, but they're popping up everywhere. And I'd say just keep finding ways to help, help the industry.
And how does it feel to just like find this company and like have a passion? I mean, I know you were passionate bringing it back to like the band days and stuff, and listening to Blank and all that stuff. But like, how does it feel to like just build this thing and have it like your own, and like you have a co-founder who's a lawyer and just have a staff and like making such impactful, doing such impactful work for the legal community? Like, that must feel. How does it feel?
Yeah, it feels good. I mean, it's nice to we have this office goes this way, and I can see all the way down to the other end, and it's like 30,000 square feet, and it's nice to see the team working and grind. Because I remember when it was just me, or we were a small team, and you're like, what are we doing? And now it's cool to see the work that's being put in, the customers that are huge fans, and the clients that are having impact. But it just still to me feels like the beginning where we're like, I think being an entrepreneur, there's a trait of never being satisfied. And I'm just going, until every client knows that they deserve a great client experience when they hire a law firm, like our work is not done. And that might sound real altruistic, like we're building a really great business and be a great return for our investors. But I want to look back and say, man, we changed everything with what we did at Case Status, and that's why this team is so locked in. It's why why it's a common thing. People just comment on our team when they're out and about, because we only hire people who are really really locked in on what we're doing and care. And that's nice, because it's not just like, hey, come join an AI company and get everybody fired at those law firms, and we might fire all of you because we're going to overhire. It's like we're saying we're going to build something, and we're going to it's going to be really hard, and it's going to be really rewarding. And I think a lot of people really get behind that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think your staff's fantastic. I met them in Boston in October. Some of them trickled over from Clio. I had a Lawyer Stories event in Boston the same night as Clio.
Oh, nice. I was there. Yeah. I should have come over to see you.
Oh, were you? All right. Well, had we done this 6 months ago, maybe. But a couple of them made their way over, and I think they had a good time. And I connected with them, and they wanted to chat, and so that here we are. So good stuff, man. Congrats on all your success. Andy Seavers, co-founder and CEO of Case Status. And everybody else, thanks for tuning in. Andy, stay right there. Wherever you are in the world today, enjoy yourselves. Cheers.